The 2023 small room setup tour. It's quite a bit later in the year than I'd have hoped, but I've got some really exciting changes to show you, so sit back, relax and enjoy. We're going to kick things off like usual over at this side of the room and work our way around to the good stuff. Starting with the bedside table, the unit itself is the IKEA Godicious, and as you can tell it's nothing too fancy, but it's a clean and practical storage unit. On top of which we have one of my most expensive upgrades, and that is the iPad Pro 11-inch 4th generation featuring the incredible Apple M2 chip. And of course I also had to pick up the 2nd generation Apple Pencil as well. I'm using an ESR magnetic case that I got from Amazon, which also doubles as a stand, and as always I will be linking to all of these products down in the description, so if there's anything that tickles your pickle, make sure to check it out. Also on the bedside table I have a candle, this awesome Dongshin 3-in-1 wireless charging station which is housing my AirPod Pros that I honestly couldn't live without anymore, my brand new Apple Watch Series 8 which was an upgrade from the Series 3, and the iPhone 14 Pro Max which I'm currently using to record this video, so I'm showcasing an 11 Pro Max here instead. Moving on, we have the somewhat outdated 3rd generation Echo Dot that I use to control pretty much all of the lights in my room, as well as the epic Govee Aura smart lamp. Once again I utilise Govee for the majority of the ambient lighting in my setup, but you'll see more of that as we move through the tour. And I honestly couldn't recommend the Govee Aura enough. It's reasonably priced, packed full of awesome features, and has a great app that gives you full control over the brightness, colours and scenes. Moving on up, we have this really neat Game Boy wall art from a company called Grid. It's a device that was made in the year I was born and commemorates my personal journey growing up with games. They also do a bunch more of these with various consoles and controllers if you're interested. Next up we have my somewhat controversial idea of sticking a keyboard to the wall, because why not? It's essentially just functioning like a giant fidget toy right now, but I think it looks cool, so whatever. Inside the drawers I keep some commonly used items such as keys, a Ridge wallet, glasses, karambit, power bank, notepad, books and a few other bits and bobs as well. Moving over to the wall then, I have two IKEA Skadis pegboards placed vertically with various hooks, trays and containers. They come in a selection of sizes, but these ones are the 36x56cm boards and I love their simplicity and functionality. After getting these installed, the area felt a bit dark, so I opted for a LifeX beam running vertically next to the boards to give off some nice and highly customizable ambient lighting, which is once again app or voice controlled. This cap was from an awesome experience. So at the bottom of the pegboards I have 3 small containers that I currently use for spare switches in case I change or build a new keyboard. Above that I have some of my personal favourite keyboards in my collection. Starting at the bottom I have the Varmelo Yakimo, then the Drop Enter, and then the recently reviewed Owler F68 at the top. Sat above that is the 2020 MacBook Pro with the M1 chip. Although I don't use it that often anymore, it has been a must-have for travelling and portability. Saying that though, since I got hold of the M2 iPad Pro, I hardly use it, so I may consider selling it in the near future. On the shelf above I have the Nikon D3200 camera that I use when travelling and for most of my Instagram product posts and YouTube thumbnails. As always I've changed around the posters, and this year I've gone for some Japanese themed ones and I really love how they look on the wall. I got these from a shop in the UK called HMV for under £4 each, which in my opinion is an absolute bargain. I think frame posters are a great option as they can easily and cheaply be changed, and it gives your room a completely fresh feel. And the winner for the most pointless purchase of the year goes to the giant Squishmallow Pikachu. Although it is very punchable and Maya loves sleeping on it, so I guess it's fine. Right guys? And last but not least for this area is the new cushions I got from B&M. They're cheap, comfy, and well, that's all you need really. I had a few questions last year about the bed, and this is the Bergamo USB bed frame that I got from Benson's for Beds. It's nothing too special, but it does look pretty great in my opinion. And of course for the main room light I'm using the Govee Smart Bulb, all of which will be linked down below. And onto some more lights. Yep, you guessed it, it's Govee again. Around the room, under the bed and on the shelving units I've used 2 sets of 10-meter Govee RGB-IC strips which I control via the app or voice controls to change between a plethora of colours and scenes. Although Govee have become a little more expensive over the years, I think they have the ideal middle ground between good quality and an attractive price point, making them a great choice for gaming setups. If you've been watching the past few setup tours, then you know what's coming next. It's of course the classic Scorpio Tech Sherpa blanket that I truly believe is an essential part of any functioning setup. Although it is summer right now and I absolutely want this thing nowhere near me, but it is super soft and ideal for winter. And with that said, let's move on to the TV and console area that's seen a big overhaul in the lighting and immersion department. So the shelving unit under the TV is a Locker 9 cube unit from B&M here in the UK, and it's honestly ideal, especially considering the space constraints I have. It allows me to showcase the Xbox Series X, Switch and PS5 in a nice way. I did have to do a bit of DIY to make the shelf for the Series X though, but other than that the cubes are ideal for having easy access to the games and controllers. Now this might surprise you, but these lights are one of my favourite upgrades this year. In previous years I've used battery powered lights, so it either meant buying new batteries or constantly recharging them, so instead I found these USB rechargeable lights on Amazon and they are brilliant. I would highly recommend getting some of these lights for either shelves or a unit like this. To get the power and HDMI cables to the Switch, I made a small hole at the base of the center cube so that the cables remain hidden, but I can also quickly swap between the handheld and docked modes. Another rapid fire recommendation: if you need a Switch case, just get this one. It's the TomTok carry case from Amazon and it's cheap, strong, has game storage, and well, I don't know what else, but just buy it. And a quick note, since everyone complains, the PS5 has more room than it looks, so please stop telling me it's going to choke to death. It's fine. I don't really know if it's fine, I just don't use it anymore. Anyway, where was I? Yes, the lighting. So I've introduced quite a lot of Philips Hue products this year to my setup, including the sync box, play bars, and the gradient reactive strip on the TV itself. These have completely leveled up the immersion experience, with the strip lighting up the top and sides of the screen and the play bars lighting up underneath. In the center I'm still using these same old PlayStation icons lights, but I really like the glow they give off without cluttering up the space. And of course on top of the unit I have some IKEA artificial trees, a Master Chief Funko Pop for Xbox, and an Aloy Funko Pop for PlayStation. Another new addition for 2023 is these awesome Govee Hex panels. What I love about these is that they not only look great when in use, but also don't look hideous when turned off. In many ways they are similar to the Nanoleaf light panels that I already have and act as a wall feature as well as having excellent lighting functionality. One cool thing about these though is that the light can emit from underneath the panels, which gives it a sort of underglow and lights up the surrounding wall very nicely. I briefly mentioned the Philips Hue upgrades earlier, but now let's take a closer look at the huge lighting and immersion overhaul that I've had. So this setup consists of the Hue bridge, sync box, 2 play bars, and a 51st movie you watch or game you play if you were using this setup. Moving on, and this might seem a bit overkill, but I'm also running another Govee RGB IC strip around the TV unit, TV itself, across the shelves and around the wall to give me a second lighting option when I'm not using the Hue sync or TV lights. I feel like this gives the room a really fresh and consistent feel aesthetically, and it also gives me a fantastic way to display some of my favourite controllers and keyboards on the shelves. This is another area I've changed around a bit this year, and those of you that have watched the previous tours will have already noticed that the Funko Pops have gone. In its place though we have some of my favourite controllers, including the Stadia controller, RIP Stadia, a Hex Gaming custom Xbox controller, my Scorpio Tech Design Labs controller, the White Elite Series 2 controller, and a custom PS5 Hex Gaming controller which I absolutely adore. All of these are sat on the Skull & Co Phantom controller stands that I picked up from Amazon. These are available for various controllers and I highly recommend them if you wish to display your own controllers or simply have a place for them to sit. Overall I really love how this looks and it feels a lot more mature than the Funko Pops did. On the bottom shelf I have the classic IKEA Fika hanging plant, the Acco 3087, a custom keyboard build that I used in the previous setup tour, and the RK61 with a collection of custom keycaps that I've collected over the past few years. And before I forget to mention, these are the IKEA Mosslander shelves, which are 1.5 meters long and they are installed upside down to allow for better displaying of the keyboards and controllers. I mentioned earlier that I also have a Govee RGB IC strip running around the shelves, and these are ideal as the lip of the shelves can hide the strip from direct view, meaning that you only see the nice glow. Moving onwards now to the desk, we have the Davoom Pixu Max art display which is sat on top of the PC, as well as the Epic Scuff Instinct Pro controller, which is genuinely one of the nicest controllers that I've ever used. The Davoom Pixu Max art display allows you to create your own designs or search the gallery for thousands of user-created artworks. I think it's an awesome device as you have the freedom to change it whenever you wish, or simply use it as a clock or one of its many other functionalities. My question to you though is, what is your favourite Pokemon? We've got quite a few changes to look at in this area, but let's kick things off with, yep, you guessed it, even more Govee lights. This time we've got the Govee Glide, and I installed these here to give a sort of outline to the desk area as well as to light up the top of the PC. The Glide is highly customizable with various scenes, effects and options to choose from to really make it fit your theme. Some of the new additions here are the mic and the microphone arm. The microphone arm is the PSA1 Plus arm from Rode, and whilst it is quite pricey, I genuinely think it was worth it, especially considering this time last year I had a flimsy and squeaky metal arm that cost about £12. This arm is sleek, stable, silent, and the perfect accompaniment for my new microphone, the Rode NT USB Plus. If either of these interest you, I recently made a video about them both, so be sure to check it out. out. But to summarize, I think they're great, and this is the microphone I'm using to record this video. And here's where things start to get very exciting. We'll take a look at the beast on the desk very shortly, but let's quickly run through my peripherals. My current keyboard is the Vissels V84, which is ideal for both gaming and video editing, especially when combined with my favorite Lugia custom keycap and this gorgeous custom-made blue wrist rest. And as I mentioned before, I will leave all of the links to everything mentioned down in the description. As for the mouse, this is the Razer Basilisk V3 Pro in white, and I can't get enough of it. I've paired this with the Carpio 2.0 white wrist rest glide from Delta Hub, which really helps with wrist fatigue after long sessions. All of which is sat on top of this beautiful poly desk pad from Highstar. One of my favourite additions this year is the Elgato white Stream Deck. I do a lot of multitasking, so having easily available and fully customizable macros has been fantastic. It's definitely a device I would struggle to manage without now. I've also drilled a hole in the desk to allow cables to come through if necessary to keep the desk looking as clean as possible. And of course I have my somewhat iconic shape of nano 240Hz OLED gaming monitor. And this thing is the definition of a beast. This insane looking monitor has an 800R curve and runs at a resolution of 3440 by 1440p. It is by far the most immersive gaming experience I've ever had, and this was actually the first time I've used a curved monitor, and I absolutely get the hype now. The Ultra Gear monitor is packed full of incredible features such as its built-in lighting zones, various picture-in-picture modes, buttery smooth 240Hz refresh rate, peak brightness of 1000 nits, OLED display, response time of 0.03 milliseconds, HDR10, its near borderless display, as well as being G's original stand as it offers height and tilting options on every axis. The monitor also has cable management options on the back which allow me to keep the desk clean without any visible cables. As great as the monitor is for gaming, it's just as good for video editing thanks to the screen's real estate. I feel like I have a lot more space to work with than I did on, so I'll have to consider changing those in the near future, but apart from that, it's still running fantastically well and handles everything that I throw at it. For those of you that don't know, I'm running an i9-9900K overclocked to 5GHz, an Asus ROG RTX 3080, 32GB of DDR4 Corsair Vengeance RGB RAM, all of which is housed in the Corsair Crystal 570X case. If you want to have a look at the full spec list, I have it in my Discord server, so make sure you drop in and say hi. Now, I was very tempted to change the PC this year just for the setup tour, but considering it's performing so well and I still like the look of it, I thought I'd make the financially sensible decision of sticking with it for now. And you thought I was done with Govee, did you? Well, you're very wrong. This is one of the Govee neon rope lights, and I decided to replace my 5-year-old RGB strip on the desk with it, and I'm very glad I did. It's a fully customizable, pre-diffused light strip that has some excellent features. It has a fantastic brightness level, high quality design, great app control, and can also be cut to size. As for the desk, this is the IKEA Linmon, which is unfortunately discontinued now, but it is a 150 by 75cm desk, and the drawers of course are both the IKEA Alex drawers because I'm basic like that. In the top drawer I keep some handy tech such as mice and phones, including the G Pro X Superlight and the Redmi Note 12 Plus. In the second drawer I have a selection of handheld consoles and games such as the classic DS, 3DS, as well as the very underrated PS Vita. I also have the RGB Spotlight remote in here, as well as this incredibly handy Haley Cool rechargeable battery pack for Xbox controllers, which is a game changer. On the opposite side I have my utility drawer, which has the BenQ Halo screen bar remote, which automatically activates when I open the drawer. The Halo screen bar is an essential part in my setup ever since I first used it. It lights up the entire desk and is a great light source for my unboxing videos, as well as when generally working at the desk. The remote allows you to easily change between the brightness levels and the warmth of the light, as well as a couple of other options, and this is definitely a product that I would highly recommend. Inside the drawer I've got your typical content such as pens, an electric screwdriver, notepads, cable ties, karambits, and just that sort of thing really. In the other drawers I have a bunch of cables, controllers and paperwork, as well as a bunch of cable management and cleaning products that I use often to keep things neat and tidy. As for headphones, I'm still rocking the Beyerdynamic DT990 Pros, although I recently did replace the headband and earpads. I absolutely adore these headphones, but I am going to be testing out the Razer Black Shark V2 Pros in an upcoming video, so stay tuned for that. As you can see, I've put a lot of effort into the cable management to keep the underside of the desk as cable free as possible. I work on the out of sight, out of mind theory, so as long as I can't see them, they don't exist. It's ideal for me with its massive ergonomic options and ergonomic office style chair. And with that said, we're now nearing the end of the 2023 small room setup tour, but I will answer a few questions that I had from last year's video. The first of which was about the size of the room. So this is a box room which measures about 2.3 by